All right, folks, so how can we compare fractions and decimals? This one's got a few interesting parts to it. Number one, we have a negative decimal, and number two, we have a negative fraction. So we'll need to be able to handle that. Why don't we just turn the fractions into a decimal? Put your numerator inside, denominator goes outside. Obviously, 8 can't go into 5, so I'm going to add the decimal. Make sure you pop it up top, and now we can hang the 0 on it. 8 goes into 50 6 times. So we get the 48, and that gives us 2 left over. Well, since we got something left over, we need to add another 0 and bring it down. Well, 4's left over, so add another 0 and bring it down. And the nice thing is, this time, we're going to finish it. So nothing is left over, right? 40 minus 40 is 0. So what is this 5/8? It's 625,000. So 0.625. So let's just put a little line right there. This is a decimal, and it's got 2 digits on it. This is a decimal, and it's got 3. So what do you say we just go ahead and add on a 0 right there for that negative 0.37 hundredths? And so we know 1 is bigger than these fractions and those decimals, so that's probably going to be our biggest one. But what about this sucker? Well, we need to go ahead and do the division. Numerator goes inside. Denominator goes outside. Now, this is a negative fraction. So if you want, go ahead and just put a negative sign up here for your answer, because you know a negative divided by a positive makes it negative. Or you could just say, hey, it's a negative fraction. It needs to be a negative decimal. Okay? Go ahead and throw on your decimal and 0. We've got 10 left over, so add another 0 and drop it. That'll go in twice, so we'll get 80. And yet again, we've got to add another 0 and drop it. But this time, we can finally finish it, right? 40 goes into it 5 times. So I'll just handwrite this one. There we go. There's nothing left over. So this is a negative 725 thousandths. So you can even put a 0 right there in front of it. You can put a 0 there in front of that one. So now let's go and look at this. We have 2 negative numbers. This one is negative 370, let's just call it. I know it's a decimal. And let's just call this one negative 725. Which one's smaller? Which one's smaller? The 725 or the 370? Which one's smaller? It's negatives. It's the negative 725. But this is supposed to represent negative 29 40ths. So can you write negative 29 40ths down instead of the decimal that you created? Because it's supposed to represent this. It's an equivalent number. And now I'll put a comma there. The next one would have to be the negative 0.37 or 37 hundredths. Right? Because those are my 2 negatives. So now we have another question here. What about the 5/8, that's 0.625 or 625 thousandths, and the 0.3 or the 3/10ths, right? Well, this would be 300 if we added zeros on. This is 625, and they're both positive. Which one is bigger? I think you would agree it's the 625 is bigger, right? So we need to put this one next, 0.3, 3/10ths. And then we can put down the 5/8. And then I'm hoping that you all agree with me that 1 is the biggest number on here. And that is least to greatest. Make a little note here. Use the original number.